Hi guys, I just want to make a little video here to point out a little interaction I had with a persona online that goes by the name of Astronomy Live on YouTube, and then he also has a Godlike Productions account where he's the senior forum moderator. He goes by the Deplorable Astronaut. I've had some interactions before with him. I think he also went by Dr. Astro. I actually think he has a PhD in astronomy, and I just want to point out that he seems like a very, very bright, left-minded, analytical individual. He knows a lot about math. He knows a lot about perceived astronomy, and he started this thread where he was debunking one of these sensationalist conspiracy theorists who thought that the Earth's axis of rotation was shifting out of whack abnormally at an extreme wobble. And he goes into great detail and he explains how, well, that's not the case. It's what we call a Chandler wobble. It's what they call Chandler wobble. Chandler wobble, if you look it up on Wikipedia, it says the variation of latitude, or Chandler wobble, is a small deviation in Earth's axis of rotation relative to the solid Earth, which was discovered by Carlos Chandler in 1891. It amounts to about 9 meters or 30 feet in the point at which the axis intersects the Earth's surface and has a period of 43 days. Well, obviously, if you use a little bit more common sense and you validate some of the experimentation that went on to prove whether or not there was rotation to the Earth, you would come to the conclusion that there is not any rotation to the Earth. Like, you can cite Arias failure, Michaels and Morley. You can even look into Maurice Elias as well, and on and on and on. You know, the Cavendish experiment can be explained basically by understanding that these two large masses, or two balls, they're interrupting the etheric universal compression, which Tesla even believed in, and even the so-called Coriolis effect. I made videos about that in the past as well, explaining how it's the actual moving ether, the centrifugal divergent force, that is creating the disparity. Like if you shoot a bullet to the east versus to the west, it sinks toward the west and rises towards the east, or the Atmos effect. That's all explained. There's no rotation to the Earth. I mean, it just does not make sense if you use your common sense reasoning and a little bit right brain thinking, which a lot of these left-brainers, these left-brain analytical people just don't seem to have the capacity to understand or to entertain. Sadly. But it's prophesied that these people, the so-called wise men, their knowledge would be turned backwards, and their so-called wisdom would be made into foolishness. But anyway, I want to get into the little interaction I had with Astronaut. Pull up that screen here. On his video, he goes in. It's a real good video as far as the math goes. If you were to believe that you're on a rotating, wobbling, spinning ball in a vast universe, with the stars being an exorbitant distance away from you, which to me it just does not make sense, and I don't think it should make sense to anyone else if you just applied a little bit of common sense reasoning and logic. Stars are very close to us, and so he goes and he gets the math here. Looks like he's a great math whiz, and he goes into the right ascension and the declination of the Polaris versus the North Celestial Pole, and how it shifted over time, over 16 years, if you take the J2000 data versus the data from today. And he went out and did his own observations, and he was very, very thorough, and he even pulled out the Star Atlas book, and he found the exact right ascension and declination of Polaris. He plugged that in, and he found out how they deviated over 16 years. You see this green circle? I guess that would be the North Celestial Pole, as the Polaris wraps around the North Celestial Pole during today's date, versus this red circle where it's wrapping around it. It shifted basically, and so the consensus among the scientific intelligentsia is that, well, it's the Earth's rotation that is slightly wobbling slightly processing over time. It's a very, very minute wobble, very minute. I think he goes into like milliarc seconds. And well, I'll just get to this little conversation I had with him. I said, good work. You helped realize the celestial sphere inside the Earth processes. And go away, Steve. You should still be in jail as far as I'm concerned. Earth isn't concave. Your cult is false in every possible way. There's good reason there. You are not a judge. If you believe in a God, why do you resist his creation? I recall him claiming that he believed in God. I think he claims to be a Christian, actually. So that's why I pointed that out. He says, go away, Steve. Now, you need professional help and you need to stop harassing me before I report you. Am I clear? My response was, YouTube is designed to give one the option of blocking someone. What you consider harassment is not what one who is more objective would consider. It does seem your fear of me is more rooted in the fact that I am right about the shape of the Earth, and it threatens your profession and pride. Listen to me, you son of a bitch. I cannot block people from my phone, but I can report them for harassment. My fear of you is fully justified and rooted entirely in the fact that you made death threats and attempted to track down a friend of mine in Florida. I carry a gun because of nutjobs like you, and I will kill you if you try to harm me or my family. Fuck off. My response? That reply seems non sequitur to the context of the content you presented at hand, and an easy deflection to the topic. You are obviously acting irrational and emotional. I expected more professionalism from you. I have no intent or desire to harm you. I just wished to commend you on your work and correct you into the understanding there is a rotating, wobbling celestial sphere inside God's creation we call Earth. He goes on to say, no, there isn't. You're a dangerous criminal, and I'll kill you if you try to harm my family. Want to be shot in the head? No. Then stay the fuck away from me and my family, Stevie. I know who you are. Okay, I'm not sure what he means by that, but my response, wow, I actually would recommend you to seek professional help for your paranoia. My intention is to save people, not harm them. And if you were truly honest with yourself, you'd see things how I see them. Glass sky, ice attached to it, sun stopping, and total havoc. If you helped me educate people about this impending situation, you too would be trying to save and protect people and not harm them. I point that out because he claims to be a Christian, and evidently there's a problem with his understanding of the world. If he believes in a God and he doesn't understand that there is a literal heaven that we can actually point to inside the middle of the earth. So he goes on to say, fuck off, you psycho. You're fucking insane, and you tried to kill my friend. That is not true. I did not try to kill anybody. I've never had any intention of killing anybody. Even when I've made threats in the past, there was no intention behind those threats. Those threats are what you would call subjective threats in the courtroom. If I actually were to fight some of the threats that I got arrested for, actually just one of the threats, I would have probably won the case because I had no intention of harming the president. If I see your face, I will be prepared to kill you in self-defense. I'm an excellent shot too. Fuck off and leave me alone. My response, when you calm down and realize you cannot debunk me with my assertion you are inside the earth and there are crystal concentric firmaments above, capitulate. I have a lot of work for you, son. My blessings of peace and understanding go to you and yours. His response, fuck off. The earth isn't concave, you fucking psychopath. You tried to kill my friend, and if you try the same with me, I'll kill you in self-defense and rid the world of one more cult leader. Okay. Going back to the content at hand, I just wanted to point that out because I really just want to focus on the content. I don't want this video to be a war between ad hominem attacks, basically. I just want to talk about the content at hand, and I want to talk about how it makes much more common sense to understand that there is a central rotating celestial sphere in the center of the Earth that has a slight wobble to it. I'll pull up my animation here I just made. Okay, if you watch my previous animations, I talk about how there is a perceived sky dome. It's not an actual literal sky dome within the concave Earth. And we'll have a perceived summer solstice. This is at 34.3 degrees north latitude. I think it's probably like somewhere in Oklahoma. And I just picked a random latitude. Perceived celestial equators over there. We have a north celestial pole, which is perceived over here. So we're viewing the pole stars when we're looking toward the north. And we have a perceived Polaris. I'll play the animation here. I talked about previously how these sight lines will bend up. Energy bends up. Horizontal ham radio antennas show bending upward. Light bends up. It's been proven. It's been showed with theodolites. It bends upward. So it bends up. It converges to the central celestial sphere, where Eric and I talk about the octahedron behind the celestial sphere acts as a resonant absorptive antenna, which sucks up the electrons. So it's always hitting. Your view of the celestial sphere it's curving up and it's hitting it perpendicularly. And so this purple line here is the actual cutoff line, or the horizon line, in which it obscures the back part of the celestial sphere. So that 55.7 degrees that's if you take 90 degrees and you minus 34.3, you get 55.7. And so you zoom in about close and you understand. Okay, we have the horizon clipping line here, and it's rotating counterclockwise. But more importantly, just using your common sense here. Now, what's more believable? You can have this 8,000 mile wide, solid, rotating, slightly wobbling Earth, and it's just slightly precise, just has a slight wobble. I mean, we're talking 30 feet. Just a slight wobble, even though there's a huge amount of mass distribution variation. Okay, you have this disparity here. Maybe you got the Rocky Mountains in North America, and you got the Himalayas in Asia. I mean, we're talking like, it'd be like wobbling all over the place. 8,000 miles wide. Or what if it's just a rotating, let's say it's about 2,000 miles wide, celestial sphere that is perfectly levitating in a state of equilibrium. It's extremely frigid up there. You can blame it on superconductivity if you want to, but for some reason it's levitating perfectly in the center of the Earth. There's an equal amount of pressure inside the Earth, and it just has a very slight wobble to it. Very slight. It changes from year to year. The Chandler wobble, it's going to change a little bit, not that much, but it makes a whole lot more sense. Obviously, a smaller top, he talked about top spinning. A smaller top is going to have less wobble to it, especially if it's a evenly displaced or even mass distribution everywhere. It's perfectly smooth and there's no variation. But as opposed to this huge top, this convex spinning top that has mass and weight distribution that is unequal, and it's spinning, and you can't attribute that to gravity holding the water. I mean, that's another thing too. I was watching here in this Wikipedia page here. They were talking about the Chandler wobble. They were also mentioning that well, it's possibly due to variation in the water, in the atmosphere. Okay, if you're gonna you can't have it both ways. If you're gonna claim that it's a variation in the atmosphere, in the seabed, in the water, causing just a tiny little slight wobble to the Earth, you're gonna have to also say that, okay, well then, yeah, if the Earth were rotating, this water, this seabed, this atmosphere, it would be creating this huge whiplash effect, and the water even wouldn't stick on a spinning ball. Okay, it does stick inside the concavity of the Earth due to equal pressure, due to etheric pressure, due to inside surface tension, and it just doesn't give the appearance of it bending upward, the land bending upward because of the curvature of the light is bending more so than the curvature of the Earth. Okay? So, makes a lot more sense to understand that this very, very slight wobble from year to year is happening because we have a much smaller sphere that's spinning as opposed to this huger sphere that's supposedly tilted at 23.4 degrees. And it's in a huger environment too, this heliocentric environment, as opposed to the concavity of the Earth. You have a smaller, contained environment. Everything is predictable. Everything is precise. You know, there's no slop. There's a reason why we can predict things. You know, lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, transits, occultations. It's because it's all inside. And its predictability is very, very, very high. And understanding that makes a whole lot more sense. So there's a slight wobble to the celestial sphere inside the Earth. That's the only thing that makes sense. And so, Astromut, you know, nothing personal at all. It just, like I said before, I do not wish to harm you. I am not a psychopath. I made some mistakes in the past, but I'm here to present the information as far as content goes about cosmology, about accurate cosmology, and my opinion of you and your presentation of cosmology is completely opposite to the truth. It's opposite to understanding God. It's opposite to science. You neglect the fact that there's a glass firmament inside the Earth. I can go on and on and on. Light bends. We have a literal heaven. And you're very hypocritical for you to call yourself a Christian, if you are one, or to believe in God and not even understand that we can actually literally, physically locate heaven. It's right inside the Earth. Like I said before, I think you have a lot of pride in your profession. I think you are highly intelligent, analytically intelligent, left-brained intelligent, but you lack the common sense, the visceral understanding, the right-brained understanding of what's going on. And your profession is at stake. I guess, you know, your reputation. You're battling this so-called psychopath online who thinks he's the Christ and who you think that he wants to harm people. I don't want to harm people. I want to save people. Like I mentioned before, I do believe the final day and the final hour will constitute the sun stopping in the sky and ice from the top of the glass sky, that's where the megacryometers come from. You cannot explain where they're coming from. Will fall down and decimate the world. If you understand in Scripture, if you are a Christian or you read your Bible, you will understand Isaiah 28, Isaiah 34, where it talks about the hail sweeping away the refuge of lies. And this is the divine ruse. And so my desire is for you to repent and to realize this, and also to use your intellect, to use your testimony once you do convert over and realize you're living inside and other things, to help save people, because people are going to die when the sun stops and the ice falls. People are going to die. Astromut. 2 shall be in a field, 1 shall be hit by a huge block of ice, the other taken. Or 1 shall be taken or hit, and the other left. But people are going to die. That's my belief, that's my conviction. And, you know, if you're opposed to me, you're opposed to, in my opinion, in my eyes, you're opposed to helping save people. I'm not harming people. Like I said in the past, I made some mistakes, but I never ever had the intention of harming or killing anybody. So you think about that, okay?